Hi everyone, welcome to the next video from this Small Victories page, Johanna Basford. We have got the last one of this second row to do, and I am still pondering whether to do the next row in a different pencils or whether to keep going with Polychromos. I will probably make up my mind next time I record a video for this page. I'm going to actually switch and do something else for a little bit because I need to mix it up a bit to get some afternoon ones done. But let's grab some Polychromos to start this very pretty looking rose, I want to say. I'm trying to think of a colour that I haven't used across this row maybe, or that's going to fit in a little bit. I'm wondering about an orange. Scratching my head. There we go. I think I'm going to use the orange glaze. Oh, here we go, orange glaze. I know I said I wasn't going to be too contrived and decide to use the same colours in each row, and I haven't, because the top one has a sort of purpley pink, orange, turquoisey blue and yellow, and this row has a red, a violet, a dark blue, the sort of salmony colours, and now an orange. So the orange is the only one that's a duplicate really, which is nice. But it does mean if I switch colours, I'm going to get a whole different choice. Switch brands, I mean, I'm going to get a whole different choice. But it's just finding something that's going to have enough of a variety of the right sorts of colours. Oh, I'm very excited today. So Johanna Basford did a little thumb through of wonderful wildflowers, really quick. She said she's going to do a flip through and it'll possibly be Monday. Now, I'm going to try not to get too excited for Monday because I know how it is with Johanna. Not that it's her own fault, but things get in the way and it's school holidays, and so she's got her girls to sort of look after and think about, and finding time to fit everything in. She's obviously very, very busy. So I suspect that the fact she's proposed a date means that it's in her head, but it'll probably be a little bit later. So I've been replaying the flip through. I actually shared it in my Instagram stories, but it would have disappeared by now. So anyway, it's on her Instagram reels. I don't think she put it on Facebook. I ought to actually. I ought to share it on Facebook. I saw it last night just as I was going to bed, and I didn't really have time to fiddle around and share it. What I'm trying to do with this flower, by the way, is to do it a little bit darker at the base and then make it lighter towards the edge, and it really isn't working very well. So I'm going to have to use another colour to exaggerate that look in a moment, and so we'll do that. But I was looking carefully because I don't know if you would have seen, I did a colouring from one of her note cards. She's was selling a set of wonderful wildflower note cards through, sorry, I've got to wipe my nose, I'm getting too excited, through the V&A Dundee, V&A being a Museum Victoria and Albert. There's one in London. I want to go, but anyway, that's a whole different matter. So she's selling a set of note cards which I bought, and I did a colour along for one of them. But I thought, someone said to me, are these pictures from the book? And I was like, well, this is dark cadmium orange. What we're going to do is try and do these little edges here, like that. Try and make it a bit darker. I assumed they were, because it said wonderful wildflowers on the back of the note cards. But so when she did this thumb through, I thought, right, I'm going to have a look and see if any of the designs of the note cards are in the book. Now, because it was just like this, there were pages that were missed out. I could see that there was a whole block of pages near the beginning that had completely just flopped through, so you didn't see them at all. So although I kept replaying it and looking, and I thought, right, this time I look on the left hand pages, this time I look on the right hand pages. I must have watched it about a dozen times. It's not many really, is it? And I spotted one of them. So there's a little curled up fox with all florals drawn on its body, and I spotted that one, and I didn't spot the other two. One was a set of sort of what looked like primroses, I'm guessing. No, buttercups. Get it right. I thought it looked like. And the other one was a circle with all sorts of different flowers and toadstools and leaves and things inside it, which is the one I did for the video actually. And I'm just being fussy and going over this a little bit more. So I only saw one out of the three, but I'm thinking I probably only saw a third of the pages because she just went flip flip, you know. I don't know if you've watched it. It's, as I say, it's on her Instagram. I'm going to try and put it on my Facebook actually, because I know some people don't do Instagram. Either they just don't have an account or they don't like it or whatever. So I will try to do that later. In fact, I'll write it down here. There we go. I probably should have stopped that recording while I did that because it's a bit boring. But anyway, I've written it down, so I shall share it on my Facebook so people can see it. This is the cadmium orange, and I'm just going to use it for the ends. It's a little bit lighter than the orange glaze. I don't want to press particularly hard. I just want to make sure the colour goes all the way to the end of each of the petals. Now, you don't have to have it going all the way to the end. You can fade it off before the end if you so wish, but I don't want to. I've not got anything against doing it that way. It's just not what I want to do for this particular page. There we go. I'm sure I've probably still missed loads that I just can't see. I'm not going to worry about it because I can't see it. Now, leaves. I like to do earth green yellowish with orange. I think it works really well. But I'm looking at these leaves and they've got sort of two halves, haven't they, to them. And one is the sort of stripy half, which looks darker, and then we've got a lighter half. And I'm going to use two different colours. I don't normally, well, I don't think I've ever done this before, but let's do something different. Step out of my comfort zone. Here is my May green, and I'm going to use that for the plain side. Okay, and I am going to try and make it a bit darker at the bottom and lighter to the tip. I may end up using a darker colour near the bottom, but I'm just going to try and layer it up quite a lot. You can see how that's much darker than that, hopefully. And actually often the key to getting this right is to just persevere and really work those layers down. You do need to be careful. If you overlayer, you can ruin the paper. But this is good paper. It can take layers as long as you're not pressing down really, really hard. And if your pencil is sharper, your layers will be more intense. So you need to be a little bit aware of that. Get used to it. Yeah, I've been colouring for a very long time. I've had Polychromos for most of the time I've been colouring. So, you know, I'm definitely very used to what I'm doing. I should hope so. Okay, so lots of intensity down there. Now we're going to swap out for the earth green yellowish. Now these colours are fairly similar. I'm actually quite surprised that we've got both of these in this set because they're so similar. But I'm pleased because I really like the colour. So if one of them is running out and I sort of can't afford to buy new pencils, or I'm waiting for a few more to run out so I can make a sort of a batch order type thing, because, you know, you've got to cover the, you've got to pay postage, then it's quite nice to have one that's really similar that I can turn to instead. So that's quite nice. But you can see it does look darker, but it's hard to tell whether it's this because the pencil is darker. I can show you on my swatch chart, it's slightly darker, but also those lines that Johanna's drawn will make that look darker anyway, because we've got all that black on there. I'm thinking it's quite an interesting idea. Now with lines, I sometimes like to emphasise those lines like I did up here, but these are so close together, there's no way I could do that sort of effect. I mean, that wasn't done that well because of the small space, and this is even teeny weenier. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to layer out my colour like this. Now we have our background to think about. What goes? Now purple is quite good with orange because they're the opposite sides of the colour wheel. They sort of pop. You know, they. So I'm going to use that, but I'm wondering whether to use a violet, purple violet, manganese violet, or mauve. I think I'll use the purple violet. I think the manganese is a bit too pink. This one is a little bit purple violet. I'm just going to put a light layer around here. There we go. It's quite relaxing, just filling in these little tiny gaps. Of course, Johanna's got her new book coming out, Inklings, next year. It's quite interesting actually. She announced a sale, which will be past by now, that Waterstones, a UK bookseller, has 25% off a sort of summer offer. I'm just going to go around the edge of it all. And her Wonderful Wildflowers is in that sale. So I actually had to cancel my order and reorder it, my pre-order, so that I could put in the discount code into checkout. But I thought, well, I'll cancel all the other books I've got on order as well. So I've got Hannah Carlson's Christmas book, Inklings, and Johanna's affirmation cards, all also on pre-order. And so I cancelled all those and put them all into one big order with using this discount code, but it only came off her book because it was on selected items. It only came off Wonderful Wildflowers. But the fact that I combined them all together, whoops, dark sepia, meant that I only had to pay postage once, even though they'll all be sent out separately. That happens on Amazon as well, that if you spend over a certain amount, you get free postage, even if one's a pre-order and one isn't, so they're never going to be sent out in the same package. I don't know whether it's because their robots can't tell, computers can't tell the difference, or whether they just think it's okay because you bought so much, you can have the free postage regardless of whether the things are going out at the same time. So I've put this bit of shadow on these leaves so they look like they're underneath the rose. But what am I going to do now? Am I going to put some shadow around the petals or not? And I'm not really very sure. I think because it gets so very small in here, the risk is, even if my pencil's really sharp, that I'll almost cover the whole petal with brown. And that isn't what I want to do. So I think I'm not going to put any darker colour. I mean, I have tried to make the bases darker than the tips and things like that anyway. So we do have a certain amount of that going on. In fact, I could just doubly emphasise that with the dark cadmium orange rather than trying to do it with the dark sepia. So basically going around each petal edge, trying to make sure that it's a little bit darker so that it looks like there's a bit of shadow in there. I can see it's pretty much done everywhere. It should be, but I noticed a bit that hadn't been. Oh, no talking, concentration time. I think I'm going to leave that before I spoil it. I think that is probably done. So that's the last one of that row. As I say, I'm going to go away and decide whether to change pencils. I've got to think about whether I've got another 2 sets that will work in these small spaces with enough variety of colour to give me an interesting look, if you see what I mean. So I will give it some thought and you'll find out in the next video what I have done. But unless you remember, you would have got a compilation video, hopefully, oh gosh, that's going to be a lot. I've got to make a lot more videos before I can do that, but we'll see. Members should have a compilation video by now where they will get they sort of basically you get it in advance, all the videos in advance, but and so you might already know, but anybody else, you have to wait and see. So thank you so much for watching. Have a super day and happy colouring.